This is Andy Purewal for ID Boxing. We're here in Jeddah and I'm joined by Gareth A Davies. Gareth, firstly, how are you?
I'm very well. Long journey here. Got here about 5 or 6 hours ago. It's brilliant to be here. Massive event, massive moment for boxing history. It's a pleasure and a privilege to be here. Great card, different part of the world. So many layered nuances about this event and where we are. So delighted to be here journalistically and broadcasting.
A massive fight headlining this, Oleksandr Usyk versus Anthony Joshua 2. A lot of talk in the build up to this as to how Anthony Joshua needs to approach it. From your perspective, if AJ was to be successful on Saturday night, what does he need to do to win?
Keep his mindset right all the way going into the fight. He knows he's got to use educated pressure against a very tricky, very capable southpaw who outboxed him the first time. They got the game plan wrong the first time. He's got a second chance. This is his woulda, shoulda, coulda moment. Redemption on the dunes, yeah? An opportunity to win back those belts and the Ring Magazine belt and have an all is forgiven moment. A lot of people have got doubts about him at the moment. People saying he should retire after this if he loses. Nonsense. There's a Deontay Wilder fight, a Tyson Fury fight out there. Second fight with Dillian Whyte. A fight with Joe Joyce. A fight with Daniel Dubois. They're all massive fights. Even another fight with Joseph Parker if he beats Joe Joyce. So what people don't realise, I think, is the hunger Joshua has in him, in spite of the fact he's already incredibly successful and already incredibly wealthy. When he breaks a toenail, we've got something to say about him. So he's got to turn the momentum of the fight around. He's got to be more aggressive early. And he's got to make inroads into Usyk and not allow Usyk to settle and have a rhythm. Usyk's torso looks bigger, thicker for this fight. Maybe he's expecting more shots to the body. Maybe he's expecting a firefight early. But Joshua's got to be calm all week and keep that mindset right, believe in himself.
When you mention the word aggressive, how difficult or easy can that be for Anthony come Saturday night? Because he's in the ring with arguably the best technician of the sport.
He is, and a boxer often beats a puncher. But what he did in the first fight was he stood off and he tried to out-jab Usyk. He's got to close the space quickly in this one. Push Usyk into the corners, use his elbows, go low. Do dirty things, get his head in there. I think Usyk's expecting that, if I'm honest. And he's streetwise. You know, he's got to throw down, he's got to make inroads, he's got to take Usyk's confidence away. I don't buy the fact that Usyk could have taken him out any time in the first fight. Yes, Joshua was exhausted in that 12th round and troubled on the ropes. And Usyk's put out that stuff. And I think it's kind of like psychology that he was told not to knock him out. I'm not sure about that. Usyk was exhausted as well. I had marks all over him. This is a fight. I spoke to Gennady Golovkin. The other day, and he was saying he's got to rediscover, Anthony, his animal spirit in this fight. That's the key. In big sporting events, the great athletes, the great fighters, the great sports people, when the chips are down, when the pattern needs changing, they discover their super ego, their super id. He's got to find that in this fight. They do that by believing in themselves. What he needs to believe in about himself is that he can finish people. Not outbox people, finish people. Go in there and have intent. Obviously use his footwork and his caution, use his jab. He's got a good jab, but finish him. Go in there and hurt Usyk. And as he said, I didn't think about hurting him the last time. This is the hurt business. That's what Manny Robles said to me. We are letting Joshua off the leash for this fight. He's got to go in there and hurt him. I'm so looking forward to it. Hello, Michelle.
That link up with Robert Garcia, what are you hopeful that he can bring out of him? Because a lot of people are saying he needs to get that dog back into him, and from what you're saying, it's basically what he needs.
Yeah, and I've heard behind the scenes, they haven't seen eye to eye the whole time. Really pleased about that, because you go through a divorce after a long relationship, if I can equate that to Rob McCracken and Anthony being together for 11, 12 years, and then when you go back and you find a new relationship, which is what Manny is, you don't always see eye to eye. You know, you've got scars from the last relationship, and I think they have battled their way through it at times. Manny's got different views to him. Angel Fernandez is there to smooth it all between the two of them, but Robert's bringing things that he hasn't. Manny Robles is here. That's all I was. But Robert's bringing things that he hasn't seen before. So they've been struggling through things at times. You know, Fraser Clark's been delivering the truth to him in camp in Loughborough. It's all good. It's all good. It's all about mindset and believing, going back in his mind to knowing that he can genuinely hurt people and finish people. He's a heavy-handed former world champion who's put people to sleep, and he can do it with Usyk if he finds him right.
I'm not Oleksandr Usyk from people talking about him potentially looking a bit heavier. You said he looks a bit thicker on his torso. So with that in mind, do you think he might take a different approach and he might be a bit more aggressive himself and look to counteract AJ?
Absolutely right. He's looking to aggressively counter Joshua in this fight, and maybe because he doesn't want to take risks about being landed on heavily. So I think there was some success around the body from Joshua in the first fight, in the middle rounds against Usyk, if you remember rounds 5 and 6, if my memory serves me right. So he has thickened up the torso. He might have felt those shots, and he might think that Joshua's going to go to the body, get his hands down to attack him. So Usyk, I think, will be looking to time him in the firefights and knock Joshua out himself. He'll want an early finish. Joshua, for me, needs to get the fight done in the first 7 rounds. You know, but it wouldn't surprise me if Usyk did as well. I think there'll be cagey moments, but a lot of firefighting early in this fight.
Away from that, you mentioned Tyson Fury earlier. Now he's announced his retirement once again. Is this one the official one for you, though, Gareth?
Well, you know, I have a good relationship with Tyson. I think it's ruse. I think psychologically he's saying, I don't care what's going over in Jeddah. I'm not taking any notice of you guys. I'm the #1 in the jungle. I'm retiring with my legacy intact. Believe you me, if Anthony Joshua wins, he will be back. There's too much money on the table. It's too big a fight. He may even be back for the Usyk fight. We'd all love to see him fight Usyk and Joshua. So I think it's mind games. I think he's had one of those moments. How many times has he retired before? 3, 4? So, no, I don't believe it. I think he will be back.
What were your thoughts on the talk about a potential Derek Chisora fight?
I didn't think that was a particularly good fight. It was not a good fight. I didn't think it was particularly viable. I think it was a decent treading water fight. I was on tour with Tyson in Bristol on his after party tour, and he mentioned Derek Chisora then, and he was starting to talk it up. But he's beaten him twice. He absolutely hammered him the second time. So no, I didn't think it was going to come off. I think he's more likely to fight the Mountain, this world's strongest man, than he is Derek Chisora.
Well, Gareth, we'll leave that there and I'll leave you to enjoy the rest of your day. I appreciate you for speaking to me and ID Boxing.
As you know, it's always a pleasure.